Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CK Sim Show. Thanks for tuning in again this week. Today, we are talking to Amy Lenius. Once again, I hope that I pronounced that correctly. She is from Next Level University, and I'm really excited about having this conversation. Before we hop over, though, I just want to check that you are subscribed to our channel. And if you are, please watch the show, leave us comments, give us some likes. All very much appreciated. All right, we'll pop over to talk to Amy in just a minute.
A little show of happy, a little show of shine. Come and hear some stories, maybe leave inspired. Give your mind a break, maybe heal your soul. Come and spend a while at the CK Sim Show.
Welcome to the show, Amy Lenius.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
I am excited to have you. I think I just realized actually earlier this morning that I think we talked last year. Was it last year? I can't keep track of anything anymore. I don't know if this is age related or burnout related or the world's on fire related, but we talked a while ago, I think. And I had, and his name was just there. You are you work with Next Level University.
So Kevin or Alan?
Yeah, Alan
Alan.
Lazarus.
Mm.
Yes, he was on the show, and it was a lovely conversation. I think that was this year. Yeah, well, we'll go talk to my therapist about that. But so you work with Next Level University, but that's only a snippet of your story, really, when we break it down. And one of the things that you said in your form was that you lived most of your life with chronic illness, right? What was that like? We don't have to talk about like any of the details or anything, but you had mentioned in your form, if I read it, like you lived for years with chronic illness that did not just affect your body, but also your mental health and sense of identity. Are you able to talk about like what that feels like from an internal perspective?
Absolutely. So yeah, like you said, Next Level University, that's just been the last almost 4 years now, actually, of my chapter of life and professional life. And so before all of this, yeah, I grew up very sick and I don't mind talking about it at all. So feel free to pick my brain as questions come to you. I grew up with a condition called endometriosis, very female, hormone driven. And it was a debilitating condition full of chronic inflammation, chronic pain, and it was medical interventions of surgeries and hormone therapies and pain medications. And that started at a very young age. I started feeling really sick around 15, 16, and then it took years to get a diagnosis. So I don't think I got diagnosed until 19. And then from there, it was surgeries and all sorts of things. And so from there, the initial identity was very much a victim state. Like, I can't be saved. These professionals who know so much are telling me that there's nothing I can do. I have this condition for my whole life. I might not be able to have children. I might have to take some extreme surgical measures. There was all sorts of things that were projected into my future for me. And it was very much that first initial identity of victim. Woe is me. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm just going to move along in this system. But as I started growing, maturing, educating myself, and was in school for anatomy and physiology in my post-secondary schooling, I started to become a little more empowered and started my journey out of the victim state, if we want to start there.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, I have to stop for a second. So for people at home, PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Yes.
And so like to have that so prevalent at 15 and I mean, you said 4 years essentially is what it took, but I'm assuming there was a lot of like back and forth with doctors and everything in that particular time. Because the fact that you even got the diagnosis, like that we have so many people who live in this world, right? Who just they don't maybe have your tenacity for one, who kept going and searching
Yes.
to figure out that PCOS was like the actual issue. And then it is extremely painful. I don't have it. I know people who have it and had it, and it's just awful. It's an awful sort of situation, especially at 15 to be grappling with. Like I can't even imagine that. So to me, in my mind, like that victim sort of mentality at that time completely checks
Makes sense.
because the discomfort and the pain. So if I was closer, I would hug you because I'm like in my mind, I'm like 4 years of that, and so, but that's just until you got your diagnosis, and then how many years of surgery did you have to go through?
Yeah, I think in all I've had a total of 5 for that. So,
Oh my
yeah, it was a long journey, but I agree. I think that is the natural state you would go into at that age. And so I had endometriosis, I had the PCOS as well. That one actually almost killed me. I had a cyst burst on the back of my ovary and they couldn't see it at first and it didn't close and it caused an internal bleed. So I needed an emergency surgery for that one. Little fun side note about a bit of my journey. But it was that. But I think you're right. I think already I was showing a certain level of tenacity or something that we call self belief, self advocate,
Mm.
where I kept pushing, saying, no, there is something wrong. I'm struggling more than the other young ladies around me who are also in a change of life season. And that was a lot of the feedback I got initially was, oh, well, just welcome to becoming a woman. This is your life now. This is what women go through. I was like, oh my goodness, whatever I signed
I
up
get
for.
really Yeah, I get really angry by it. I'm a staunch feminist, for one. That's just something that's very deeply rooted in my identity. Is that um, I'm a male. I've been blessed to be surrounded by so many wonderful women in my life, and I will walk on broken glass if I have to speak up for women and stand up for their rights. And it's stuff like that, right? Like welcome to womanhood.
Yeah.
It's just such a discount and discrediting your experience as a woman,
Hmm.
and it happens all the time, even to today. Like, and it will continue to happen. I think we'll see some slight shifts as more and more women fill up those fields, the more and more research gets done, all of that sort of thing. But yes, that tenacity at 15 and not accepting this blanket sort of welcome to womanhood. Like, no, like, yes, women, oh, I'm not going to go off on a tangent. I get really worked up. Like, it's one of the only things that that and racism are the two
Mm.
things in my life that get me like really revved up where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm ready to go to war and fight. Like that's where I get. But so yes, but so that happened and you had you as you would describe it, a victim mentality, not blaming you, especially at that age
Yeah.
either, right? And then so then you decided, was that a part of your because of this that was happening to you, was that why you went into study like anatomy and all of those particular things? Like
I think it was a part of it. I did initially play around with, well, what would it look like to become a doctor? What would it look like to become a nurse? And I had already had, unfortunately, so many terrible experiences as a patient in that field.
mm,
And I really didn't like needles also. So I was like, I don't want to give people needles. And I also, I didn't have enough self-belief, self-worth, and really belief in myself that I could go into that system and make change, which I think if I was who I am now, I know I could. I know I could go into a system like that and make change. But at that age when you're picking careers and things, I was like, no, I don't think I want to go into that system that's caused me so much grief and so much dismissal and so much pain and again that dismissiveness. But I loved the idea of anatomy and physiology. I loved the idea of understanding our bodies better because the more I understood about my body, the better my life became. Because we're all moving around this world in this physical space and so many of us don't understand even the basic functions of our own body and how it works and how to take care of it properly and what to look for when certain things go out of whack and why that is. And I think the world would just be such a better space if we all had a basic, even understanding of how our physical bodies work.
Well, it just speaks to the knowledge is power piece, right? And so I'm going to share something with you really quickly. I spent my life not chronic illness. I guess you could classify it as chronic illness, but chronic mental health illnesses
Yeah.
since like I was a teenager, up until 35. And then major life event, I tried to take said life, failed. Yay. Now, wasn't so happy back then. But then I decided to go into clinical psychology. And it was through going to school for this and learning it and understanding and doing a lot of work on other things. Like you even mentioned similar work that you had done in your form. But it was learning about it, learning how the brain works, learning about diagnosis, learning how, you know, past traumas and faulty assumptions. I think faulty assumptions was the biggest sort of catalyst for me realizing, I'm like, wait a second, did I make a ton of faulty assumptions as a child? And that's what I live by now? Do I need to unpack all this and figure out, like, wait a second, am I not unworthy? Maybe I'm worthy, right? So, yeah. So that's a little story about me. So that knowledge is power because you, as you said, took that and
Yeah, and ran with it. And that's why I love, yes, knowledge is power, but it's potential power. Because if
mm,
you just hold the knowledge and do nothing with it, it's not
okay,
as
fair, yeah.
life changing. Right? Yes, the
Mm.
knowledge is important and so is the action. So when you put that knowledge into action, you take that potential and create something with it. That's this amazing power that comes from understanding and then experiencing through implementation. So I agree with that so much. And I love that like faulty assumptions. How many were you doing in your youth because you're young? Because you're young, your brain hasn't developed yet and you're all everything is outside influence. So not only which ones did you make, but which ones were assumed upon you and
Oh,
became
so many. So many. It's
and
ridiculous how
it's
many.
insane, and what a gift to be able to give someone to have the tool to look back and be like, "See, that wasn't even yours. You don't need to carry that anymore." And I love those
Love
kind of
that.
discussions. I love those. When we have beliefs, they came from somewhere. They came from us, they came from experience, or they came from someone else. And as adults, when we have more capacity in our brains and we have goals and things that we want to achieve, we get to discern, well, was that belief even mine? If this belief is against the goal that I have, is it even mine? Can I just give it back? Like, can I give it away? Can I just let it go without even having to go through the whole process? Because it's not something that I built in myself. It's really fascinating work. And I think there was a lot of beliefs put onto me on that journey and then ones I assumed about myself. Well, there's nothing I can do about it. So I just have to listen to these people and just go along with this. But what I discovered really quickly in my studies is that your body is a community. It's not just a piece and then another piece and then another piece. You are a whole functioning holistic being. And no one ever talked to me about anything else other than, my broken uterus and bunk ovaries. That was it. That was the only discussion ever. No one ever talked to me about even my hormones in general, my gut health, my liver function, my sleep, and how that matters for hormones. Oh my goodness, all of it. All of it matters. Your stress, what stress
Mm.
does to your hormones as women is its own thing that you could just dive into forever. It is so detrimental for our natural cycle that we have. So stress on its own, I deeply believe should be addressed. And when we get put in these little physical cubes, it's like, okay, well, what about the whole being? What about the mental and emotional aspect of it? I mean, you're dealing with something with a young girl and you're telling her, okay, like, this is it. This is your life. You're in pain for the rest of your life. You're never going to be able to have children. And hopefully you hit menopause soon, which is going to be its own thing.
Mhm. Mm. Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I always encourage people to go and gain more knowledge, especially, I mean, yes, follow your interest, but if you have an interest that is forced on you, like an illness, go learn more, even just so that you are empowered to communicate with the people you are partnering with on your healing journey so that you feel good about being an advocate for your body. I had to do that so many times. And the more I did it and the more knowledge I had, the more certain I felt I could do that. Because at the end of the day, even if someone can communicate better than you about medical things, anatomy and physiology, they don't know how you feel. They don't know how your body feels. You know when your body feels good and when it doesn't. And if you can't, it's okay if you can't describe it or understand why it's happening, but you do know it's happening. And that alone is enough to stand up for yourself in these scenarios. And that took time. And that's hard as a young girl to be able to do. But once I reached my early 20s and my mid 20s, that's where I was able to get to. And that made a huge difference in my recovery.
I love that too, because I think that that's such a big message that people need to understand is advocacy for yourself when you are going to see doctors, right? And going back to the feminist thing, women get gaslighted at doctors like every single day. And it's just so but what's crazy about this though is that it's not just men gaslighting these women. It's the females doctors who are also gaslighting these women. And I'm like, it's one of those things. So yeah, advocacy and knowing like there's so many resources in this world now where you can like really like drill down on what these symptoms could potentially be and go to the doctor prepared. This is what I think it is, and this is what I'd like to pursue. And if they won't do it, find somebody else. Like
And
it's
somebody
your body at the end of the day. Yes, find somebody else. Like you're
that
not stuck to one doctor. Go to
that
an emergency room if you have to. Like because like just advocate for yourself. Don't give up.
Yeah.
Right.
And if the
And
doctor
it's
at that on that shift is no good, go back for the next shift. There are so
exactly.
many different things, and I wish more people, so not only the self-advocacy part, but I wish more people understood that you just keep going. This person
Mhm.
doesn't work out for you, it's not you and your condition and your fault. It's this wasn't a match. There's other practitioners. There's even other modalities of medicine. There are so many different
Absolutely.
things. And even when I talk about the things that worked for me and the reason I am pain free and the reason I'm healthy, I talk about the fundamental principles more than the actual details because what helped me might not help you. We're all individual
Mhm.
beings. We're all at individual stages. There's so many different things. But the through line of the unsexy fundamentals of staying curious and continuing and giving yourself and your body and the journey the grace of time and those types of things, that through line matters for everybody. Now, the modalities might be different, but just continuing to go and get curious. And okay, I tried cranial sacral therapy, I tried acupuncture, physiotherapy, naturopathic doctor, huge success with that. Like, you just keep going until you find your own special, unique team of healing and tools for healing because there's so many out there. And I promise if one hasn't worked for you, another might. If five haven't worked for you, the next 10 might. There's so much out there. And give yourself that gift of searching and staying curious because that, oh, what a game changer.
It is a game changer, and I think the more people who know this, who know that they don't have to accept that some doctor told you that you are meant to feel this way. This is normal. This is a normal part of perimenopause or menopause, I'm speaking specifically about women, but there's lots of men out there as well who
Yes.
would benefit from the same thing. Although men have a tendency to be taken at face value
Yes.
when they go to doctors, right? So like a man will go in and say, well, this, and this is happening, and they'll run every freaking test in the book. Whereas a woman could have the exact same symptoms, and they're like, oh, that's just menopause, honey. Go home, take an Advil, put a hot water bottle on your stomach, lay back, feel no, like no.
Yes.
Um, Search it out, no one can know exactly what your body's feeling. Like, that's the big piece, right? So if you know and you're going to be able to tell by your instincts that there's something wrong, keep going. Like lean into those instincts and make sure you get the answer. So I'm popping over here, sort of my person who does my editing is going to be like, stop doing that because you go off camera. I'm like, look, take a look at the books in the background. These are people I've interviewed.
We get to admire your
um
lovely background.
Yes. So so you went into like anatomy and physiology and that sort of thing, but what was next after that? Like when you started realizing and advocating for yourself and then doing all of these different things and moving from, say, that victim mentality into a more empowered, what inspired you then? Like what was your purpose? How did that shape?
Yeah, a lot of it was so I went in for RMT. I was a massage therapist and I had a practice around a lot of female clients. I ended up just falling into that niche of pre and postnatal care, a lot of pelvic balancing and low back work and things for women. And so I kind of got a little bit of a name and a title for that. And it was amazing talking to all these women on the table about the things that they were experiencing. And then I would share a little bit of my experiences with them through the lens of health support and things, and it was like, "Oh my goodness, you are just like me, and I am just like you, and women are struggling with this all over the place." And now I think it's gotten better. This was, almost 2 decades ago of I got diagnosed at 19. I was practicing in my 20s, and now I'm almost 40, so we're looking at there's been a lot of progression, I think, in these diagnoses and in understanding women's health and things, but again, I still think that's a biased lens that I have. My algorithms and all of the things that I do and learn are because I have this lens of interest in women's health and things. So I think that's also still a bit of a biased lens. But we do understand now that 1 in 8 women, I'm in Canada, 1 in 8, and I think the number is now even 1 in 6 women deal with some sort of hormonal imbalance condition, whether it be infertility, PCOS, endometriosis, heavy periods, all of those things. And so I think it's a little bit better understood now. But when I was like, no one taught us anything about our cycles whatsoever. It's wild to me because it is such a huge point of women's health. It is like our fifth vital sign. When you go in for health checkups, they check your vital signs, your pulse, your blood pressure, your temperature. Those are vital signs that let you know a bit about how your body's doing. Women's cycles are the same. If there's something wrong with the cycle, there's something wrong with the woman. And we don't know what it is yet. It's one of the chicken and the egg things. Was it hormonal or was it something else that caused hormonal
Right?
disruption? But again,
And that
sometimes
makes us perfect sense.
get in there. And so I
Yeah, that
could just
makes such perfect sense to me. I'm sorry, but yeah, like I hadn't thought about that before, but like now that you said it out loud, I'm like, wait a second, yeah. You're gonna start your cycle at like 11 or 12, I think is the newest age for that sort of period. That cycle's gonna continue until like your 40s. Then you're gonna start your period. Like you might be starting it earlier. I'm sorry, but like every woman's different. But I never thought of it that way. That is really fascinating. So if your cycle is something wrong with your cycle, this is an indicator that there's something wrong with you.
that's
Like, you
right.
have to go get checked.
Yeah.
That's brilliant,
And
Amy.
we're
I love
taught
this.
thank you. We're taught that an unpredictable cycle is just the way of a woman. A heavy period, a painful period, that's just normal. No, it's common. Just because it's common doesn't mean it's normal and it's okay. When you start balancing your hormones and living a life that is through the lens of your hormones, your periods aren't that bad. It's a lower energy season and you feel more introspective and things, but it's not a debilitating thing that most women have. And so we're just taught that that's normal because it's common, but because we live in a world nowadays that's detrimental to women's hormones, we're all experiencing these things. So now it's just normal. No.
So, like, I am having the best time right now because and my mind is blown because I'm like, it's firing off like crazy. First and foremost, I want to tell you about when you joined this call, I approximated you at 26 years old, which I wasn't going to ask you your dates, like how your age, because that's not important. But I actually 100% approximated you at 26 years old, and so then you were like, I don't know if you noticed my face when you were talking about when you were doing RMT as like 2 decades and starting to count. I'm like, what? And then you said almost 40. I'm like, what? What? Okay, but that's not the point. You look very youthful, like
Yeah.
like really youthful. I was like,
26. Love
okay.
that for me.
I literally would not have put you a day older. Sometimes I would, if you had come back and you had said like 29 or 30, I would be like, okay. I'd like, it's very hard to tell. But 26, almost 40, that's insanity. Good genes, I guess. Like, I don't know. Taking care of yourself, also, I bet. But then you're in Canada.
Yeah.
Where?
I'm in Ontario.
I'm in Quebec.
Stop.
I I live in Montreal, yeah. Um, and used to live in Barrie in Ontario and Mississauga and Brampton and Toronto for a very short period of time, but it was way too
Oh,
too
yeah.
busy for me. So
Mm-mm.
I live on the outskirts of the east of Montreal Island, so it's more suburban.
Yeah, I
here.
love that. I've never spent much time out that way at all. I only We've been in Ontario now for, I think, almost 4 years. I'm from out west.
Okay.
I moved here from British Columbia not too long ago.
I
Mhm.
feel a pull for British Columbia now in my older age.
It is
Don't know
beautiful.
why. It is beautiful.
It's on fire.
But anyway, that's so like it's on fire a lot. There's earthquakes. It's susceptible to tsunamis. So I'm like maybe Quebec's not so bad. Maybe more suburban, like country Quebec would be. But I don't speak French, and that's the problem. So I have to fix this. It's been 7 years, and there's no excuse except for me being lazy and not getting it
It's a hard language.
done. It is, but you know what? The people here are so beautiful and wonderful and so accommodating. I know enough to get by. My measure when I first moved here, and it's very different than what I would consider today, but my measure when I first moved here is I can order a caramel macchiato at Starbucks and a Big Mac at McDonald's, that I'm good, right? So I've championed these things, of course, so I can get around, but yeah, I'm done with city life as an older person. So you did the RMT. You discovered that all these women are so similar to you, and you are similar to them.
And I
What
was
came
deep
next?
in my healing journey at this point. I was doing all the things my natural path had worked well with me, and I had seen so many amazing changes and amazing pain reduction. And then I got introduced to, okay, so your internal environment is being supported differently now, and you're doing really well. What about your external environment? And I was like, oh, tell me more. They're like, "What about endocrine disruptors? What about the chemicals in your life that women use hundreds of every day that are keeping you sick and are going to limit the health that you're able to achieve because you're continuing to use them? What about the external stress? What about again, like even just the person's, places, things, and ideas? Now, ideas are in your head, that's an internal thing, but it's very heavily externally influenced. And
Mhm.
that again just doubled my love for the word holistic. I had fallen in love with the idea of the internal holistic side where it's gut, liver, stress, function, sleep, like all of it goes together. We have to stop separating them. But now this environment interacts heavily with the external environment. And they're like this: external affects internal, internal, if you're feeling crummy, affects your external life immensely. And so then I started going down that journey. And I know people want to hear, well, what was the one thing that made the difference? It's like it wasn't one thing. It was a bunch of unsexy fundamentals over a decade compounded. But it's worth it. It's worth it to do. It takes time. As much as I would love to see you heal all of your insides at once, your gut health, your hormones, all of these things, and see you feel better in a week, and then you have the money to throw out everything in your home and replace all of the things, that's not reality for most people. So it's very step by step. It's which one are you called to work on first? Start there and then go to the next one, go to the next one, because this took time. But during that time, there was so many wins. There were low days as well, but there were so many wins, enough to keep me going. That moment where I, was digging through my purse and I found a bottle of painkillers that I hadn't reached for in weeks that I used to live off of. That was a big moment. When I had my two beautiful children. I have two boys, and I was told I would never be able to have children. What an incredible win along that decade of healing. That was all a part of in that time. And so there are wins along the way, and there are things that keep you going. So don't let the idea of this daunting journey, stop you from doing it, because it is worth it to do. But I saw, again, I was speaking to all these women, they didn't understand their hormones. And I'm like, why we don't even understand our periods, and we get them every 28 days? This is insane. We need to know these things. And so when someone introduced me to external environment and more, again, that combination of natural wellness, external environment, living more toxin free and a cleaner life, maybe that's helping my youthful glow and those kinds of things. I got really connected to that community, and I got to start speaking about my wins and my transformations and my journey and what that looked like. And I found myself in rooms speaking about natural women's health. And then I found myself on stages speaking about natural women's health, and my keynote was called Holistic Healing for Your Hormones. And I got to speak into these amazing rooms full of just incredible people dedicated to a different way of being healthy. And I fell into Next Level University because I came across these two bros who were talking about holistic self-improvement. And I was like, "Oh, I love the word holistic, and you're talking about holistic self improvement and success, how you can holistically be successful. It's not just monetary, it's health, wealth, quality of life, and love. And we can get even just 0.1% better in these things every day and have a fulfilling, holistically successful life. And so I started listening to their podcast. I started diving into all of their free things that they offered. I had them come in and speak to the communities that I was a part of. I became a client, and then one day I sent Alan my keynote. I said, "Hey, you're a public speaker. I would love feedback from a fellow public speaker because most people just they celebrate, the crap out of you because they're just impressed that you're up there. So it's hard to get authentic feedback as a public speaker." And so I sent it to him and he loved it. He had really good feedback for me, and he got to know me at this point because I was a client of his and I had been in the community for a while. And he says, "We host a live event every year. Would you like to come down and MC for us?" What a different kind of opportunity. So I said, "Yes." I said, "Absolutely. I love everything you guys are about. I've never, spoken from a personal development lens, but I can pull some stuff in and make a day out of it and help facilitate the experience." And I did. And that was it. I was hooked. I was so in love with everything they were doing. And I just became more enmeshed in their business over the last few years, and to the point where now, Kevin Allen and myself are these three front facing people of this incredible company. And it's one that they themselves built. And I don't know if they ever thought about having another person come in who's this front facing voice, especially a woman, but they were surrounded by heart driven women. Their community was all heart
Hmm.
driven women. And as different as the three of us are, Kevin, Allen, and myself, you've had time with Allen, so I'm sure you can see similarities, but also huge differences in us. And
Absolutely.
the way that those work together so beautifully is incredible. So we started doing trainings together. Group coaching is my favorite because that's the three of us together pouring into a group of people. You get all three of us, and I love that so much. And I have my own coaching program through them as well. And it seems so different from what I started building, but all of that has come with me. I have been nothing but supported and celebrated to bring all of my knowledge of stress reduction, women's health, hormonal cycles, and all of these things into the idea of personal development and holistic success, because for women, that is a part of it. It really is. And when they are giving themselves so much shame around the idea of, "Oh my gosh, Amy, last week I was crushing my habits, crushing my habits. I was showing up for my diet. I was showing up for my fitness. My emotions were on point. I got all of my work done. It was amazing. And now this week I feel like a potato and I can't stay away from the chocolate. I suck." It's like, no, no, no. You don't
Yeah.
suck. You are not hormonally set up for success like you were a week ago when you were ovulating. That's inner summer, baby. That is like you at your best self. And unfortunately, it's only like 3 days, 3 to 5 days for women where they feel just great. And then every other part of our
That's so sad.
battling these hormones. And right after that, you're in that premenstrual phase where you are only set up to be successful at a few things, and you're fighting against that all the time. But if you understand that you're fighting against it and you give yourself grace and actually work with it, it changes your life instead of you unconsciously giving yourself and consciously shaming yourself for not being able to be consistent week to week and being the same person week to week. You're not.
So I think you mentioned this in the forum, and when you just said it, my brain went, "Aha, that's what it was," because there was something about what you had written that had really resonated with me, and exactly what you just said, working with it. And so, from a mental standpoint, I'm only now at almost 45, realizing that okay, I need to sort of get in the weeds with the body. I got in the weeds with the head, and most days I'm thriving from what I used to be. But like the physical right now is not doing so good because it's like arthritis and all of these different things and pains and aches and yeah. Anyway, but I this has inspired me to get more into these. But when I just love that how you put that together, like understanding that you're fighting, like if you're fighting against it, but you're knowing you're fighting against it, then you can use that, right? Because you work with it. And that speaks volumes to me because that's exactly how I was able to take myself from a self-destructive, um, super depressed, suicidal um person that just thought there was no point in living for so long to being someone like I am today. And this is what you see right now is typically how I am all the time, unless I have a flare up of gout or my arthritis, I can't crochet or whatever that may be. Um, but but it was learning the radical acceptance, right? So it's radically accepting that I am working with a depressed mind, a depressed body, if you will, and learning to accept, but also work with it. So the fighting against, I spent most of my time in pre 35 fighting against being depressed. And it was a practitioner in the short stay unit at the Waterford Hospital in Newfoundland who told me, I said to him, I am just tired. I can't keep my head above water. And he said, just stop swimming. Like the antithesis to Dory. But if you did, it took you a second, that's fine. But that's what I say all the time. Is the antithesis to Dory.
Swimming.
But his radical acceptance was stop fighting against stop swimming. Like sit with the fact that you are depressed and allow it to move through you and then figure out who you are with it through you and then keep some of that energy that you're trying to fight against to actually maybe practice some of the therapeutic options that have been put into your life. Absolutely can't speak at this moment. Groundbreaking sort of stuff for me because that was the catalyst that got me from there to here.
I love it.
So I love that. I love that that's what you're talking. Like I love that message is present. Like you understand that for 3 or 4 days of the month you're in your peak performance because that's what your hormones are like meant to do. But then for however long, now you're in where you're only supposed to do a couple things technically. But I love. So what does that look like in practice? Like just even a little bit. Like what would you offer somebody if there was someone who was watching this show today and they were experiencing the fact that they really do have irregular periods and they're experiencing discomfort and all of those things? What does that look like in practice?
Yeah. So first is just awareness that it's not normal and you don't have to stay in that suffrage because you're a woman. It's just because it's common
I love
doesn't
this.
mean it's normal. Just because every woman goes through it doesn't mean we're supposed to or have to. And the next is just a deep understanding. And I love like the macro understanding to begin with, the analogies you can put into place, like the sun and the moon. As a man, you are like the sun. You cycle as hormonally. You cycle every 24 hours. All your highs and lows and ebbs and flows of all of your hormones happen on a 24-hour clock. You are hormonally the same every day, unless there's something going on or, whatever that looks like. Yes, you can feel tired from lack of sleep, but hormonally, testosterone, those things, it all happens in one day. Women are
Mm,
like the moon. Our highs and lows and all the ebbs and flows of our hormones are stretched out from about 26 to 34 days, depending on the woman. So we are different every day and we are drastically different from week to week to week. So that right there is a beautiful understanding of why one week you feel so good. And then any of the ladies listening, you'll know this example. You'll feel social. You'll be like, oh my gosh, ladies, I want to go dancing. I want to go out. I want to go dancing. I want to go have fun. Like, let's make plans for next Friday. Well, you can't do next Friday. Okay, let's go the Friday after that. Amazing. So ovulatory you made social, exciting plans. And now 2 weeks later, you're pre-period and you just want to be a couch potato and not put on real pants. And now you have these plans and you're like, what is wrong with me? I was so excited to go. And now I don't want to go and I'm not excited. So what happened? It's just that you are in a hormonally different space. And so to bring it down into still this macro analogy, but a little bit deeper, is women go through all 4 seasons every month. Between 26 and 34 days,
mm,
you have an inner spring, an inner summer, an inner fall, and an inner winter. And when you think of the energies of those seasons, of what that looks like, that is literally who you are. And so we start in winter. The start of the cycle is our period, and that's your inner winter. And think about winter, it's hibernation season. It is internal. It is stay warm. It is stay cozy. It is root vegetables. It is those kinds of sensations. It is very hard to push ourselves to be front facing, even when I do shows like this. It's very different for me depending on the season I'm in. And we can bring
Of
in
course.
grace and we can bring in energy. And I'll keep using that even as an analogy. But the inner winter is very, I just need to be. And this is a very
Hmm.
place to connect with yourself and not push yourself, especially like women with workout programs. They're like, "Oh, I'm supposed to be weightlifting today. My coach said I'm supposed to be lifting these heavy weights today, and I feel like I physically can't do it. I'm on my period." It's like, then you shouldn't. Even learning fitness with your cycle is amazing because when you are pushing yourself to do crazy hit workouts and heavy lifting during your premenstrual phase and your menstrual phase, you're actually causing more cortisol spikes and actually more damage than good for your hormonal state. And so we need to have variety. Women crave variety for a reason because we need it for our different seasons. So when you're in inner winter and you only feel like doing long form stretching and something cozy or some yoga and a walk, that's on purpose. Next is inner spring. Right after your period, you just start to come back to life. Just like spring feels like you are very creative. If you do any creative work and you have control over your schedule and things, maybe you do work in Canva or you do presentations, whatever that looks like. If you have a creative aspect to your work, this is the season to do that. You are more cognitively set up for creativity and everything else is just coming back to life. And then for a few days, you hit that inner summer. Inner summer is exciting. Inner summer is let's go to the beach. Let's have margaritas. We're going to, right? We are having a great time and we want to be social. We are more set up articulate, like our articulation, our communication, our desire to be seen is all set up for success in this time. When I get speeches or get to go on podcasts when I'm ovulating, I am an entirely different being. I'm way more articulate. I don't have to pause more as much and think of my words or ask you to redo the question sometimes, like when I'm in my inner winter. However, I know that, so I don't give myself crap about it. I get to celebrate, oh my
Mm.
gosh, yes, this podcast or this speech is falling on a great day. Amazing. Now I'm in my inner winter and I'm not going to compare myself to when I was on a podcast in ovulation because that's not fair to do so. Because after summer comes fall, and fall is a season of preparation and organization. All of the animals are collecting their things to store for winter. And so women get very specific during their premenstrual phase. We get really bad reputations for that PMS. Oh, she's PMSing. We are cognitively set up to assess our environment. And if there is something in our environment that is misaligned or annoying or frustrating us, we are more primed to see it right now. Last week we were ovulating. It didn't matter. That
No.
we didn't care that our partners were being rude. We didn't care that there was a mess as much in the house because it's free for all season. We're social, we're this. Now we're in a season where our brain is primed to see it. And so we are more nitpicky during that time. We do care about our environment more. We do care about the things that you said to us last week that were frustrating, but we weren't in energy to talk about it. But now we are. And it's a really empowering season when you know that, but it also allows you to rein it in if you are controlled by that season as well. Some of us like
Mhm.
lose control of our emotional state and things during that season. And again, that's an indicator that you need progesterone support. If you struggle in your premenstrual season, it is because you are not getting that beautiful arch of progesterone that is supposed to come in and help balance you out in an anti-anxiety, anti-stress kind of way. If you don't have that, you're very anxious, you're very stressed, you're very irritated. But there is a little bit of that naturally as well. And then
Yeah.
winter
So
comes.
like I'm just floored because I'm like, that sounds so poetic, but also so informative, right? And you're talking about, I mean, yes, I was aware that there are the 4 cycles, if you will. I also was aware that a typical cycle is around 28 days, right? So I know that there's a flux, 26 to 34, as you said. Most people don't know this. I would argue that most men have no clue. I
Yeah,
would argue that probably half of women don't really truly know what's happening with their body when it comes to like all of that sort of thing. But like just the inner seasons, and then you're gonna go through that like month of what happened? Piper. It's a fish. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Calm down. You're safe. I'm safe too. Uh-huh. I know you want to get it out. Oh, there's one moment.
Yes, go.
Sorry about that. You leave notes telling them don't ring the doorbell and just leave it at the front door, but they don't listen. Anyway, okay. Where was I? So you had mentioned that you are now director of group coaching for Next Level University. I'm winded because I had to go down and upstairs. Um, see, this is why I have to get into like unpacking the physical side of me now, as opposed to just the mental side. So you speak publicly, and whew, wow. Anyway, we're gonna be all right. Um, so I have to tell you something. I think that you're just wonderful. There's something that's just I found myself smiling a lot during this interview. There's something very radiant about you, but also I feel like I don't know what it is. I think it's just how you present your knowledge. It comes across extremely organic and authentic. Like it's not preachy and it's kind. And there's something about that that's really quite lovely to sit back and listen to. I feel like I've had lots of guests on my podcast that I've thoroughly enjoyed, but I feel like this is probably one of the podcasts that I might have learned some really cool new stuff that I'm gonna go and like text my besties about and be like, "Oh my god, you have to watch this podcast." And I just think it's so interesting to look back and think, that you were 15 years old and in a victim mentality to see you as this human now who who just comes across so effortlessly confident. That's kind of how I wanted to say. Now that we have to be mindful of as well, like this is a snippet of your life in general, right?
Yes.
You maybe you're not always effortlessly confident, but right now you are. And that's what I'm seeing. So I wanted to tell you that because I think that I'm really hell bent on when somebody I think is amazing, I need to tell them that they're amazing. That's just who I am as a person. And I find that you're in Canada, so now I have to like figure out where you're speaking next. So I can be like, maybe a little trip to Ontario or somewhere, depending where you are, to come hear you speak, right? Because I think I would really thoroughly enjoy that. Do you find that the work that you're doing today, you're getting a lot of feedback from people, positive feedback from people with what you're sharing, your teachings, that sort of thing?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much. That was so sweet. That means the world to me. Um, the version that you see now has done a lot of work and a lot of
Mhm.
and a lot of growth and a lot of messy action because that's the best way to do things anyways, but especially over the last couple years, and we haven't gotten into much of the work I'm doing now for myself and others. So if you ever want to do a part 2 and talk self-worth, that's what you're seeing now. That
Oh, I would love to do a part 2.
this is 2.5 years of recognizing, oh, I have really high self-belief, high efficacy, and where I struggle was with low self-worth. So I went from victim into martyrdom, into the hero, as all people with low self-worth and high self-belief do. And so I love teaching self-worth and those things now. But so yes, the version of you see now, my and Alan is the same way. And Kevin, if you ever have him on, which he would love to be on, if Alan and I have both been on, that means that you're a green show, we call. And you're gonna get a green from me. It means that you're a very aligned person to be interviewed by, and that it is worth Kevin, Allen, and my time to go and be on these kinds of shows. So thank you so much too for being such a wonderful
Oh,
host. And we our through line, as different as we are, we deeply believe in truth, in candor, in authenticity, and integrity. And so our goal always is to the gap that you see out here professionally and on social media and things, we want the gap between that and our real life to be almost nothing at all. we want that to be the same. Whereas a lot of things nowadays, you see people's lives on social media, and the gap between that and their real life is very big. And that's
I
bothersome.
love
It's bothersome.
it's and so oh my god, it's bothersome because it's so interesting. I've been doing this show for well, we're in my third season. So, and I had a conversation not too long ago with I have two best friends. I'm very lucky in life to have two best friends who are like my ride or dies. And we were talking together, and I just said, I'm like, if I had chosen to be someone who trash talked other people or was very conspiracy oriented or you know there's people who are coming to your mind as I'm speaking this out loud. I'm like, I'd probably be doing this full time and be making all my bills with this work.
Yes.
And then they said, but you couldn't do that. And I'm like, and I know they're my ride or dies because they know me. It's I don't know if I've ever thought about it the way that you just presented it, but to me, it's always integrity.
Yes.
So someone came, like, let's just say one particular political person in the South were to come to me and want to sponsor my podcast, but they had like conditions attached. I don't care how much money it was. Yes, I have dreams, I have hopes. I want my own land. I want a nice house, but I will not love those things if I get them by selling out who I am, especially because it took so much work and so much time to become this version of who I am today. And so I love that, how you present that, no gap at all. And it's so interesting. If you ever have a moment, watch the episode with Alan, because I think what's very interesting is that I remember with Alan, there was something about him that was very special as well. But in the very beginning, I think you might clock my body language because I'm such a candid person. You might clock my body language as being slightly like cautious because I was like, okay, okay. But like in the end, he won me over because he was very authentic and real. And I'm always so um I guess guarded when it comes to coaches and those particular things. But there are some really good coaches out there. But there are also those type of people that really
You should be guarded. You
so
should be very discerning.
I would love to actually interview Kevin at this point. And thank you for saying that I'm a green. I love that. A green, and you know what's so interesting? You had mentioned also we should do a part two, and normally we would figure this out on the end, and we will. But I agree that we should do a part two with Amy on self-worth, right? And because I think that there's so much to talk about in that space that would be a whole nother podcast. One of the things with me is when I meet with someone when I don't talk to people before we get in the show. I don't do a lot of research on what they've presented. I make sure that they line up. There's got to be like a lineup, like a through line, as you had said before, a similar through line. But I want the conversation to be organic. I want it to come about naturally and like how it happens and to feel less interviewee, more just two people having a chat about really important and fun things. So I would totally be down to having a part two with Amy and just focusing on self-worth
Oh,
because
I would
it's
love that.
such an important topic.
Mhm. And you're not
But
alone.
that said,
You're not alone in
what?
that reaction to Alan. You're not alone in that. He's an engineer at heart. He's a tall, fit, smart. I mean, he's a genius. It's unbelievable. And so people don't know what to do with him for a little bit because he's kind of this like young looking Ken doll guy, but he's also a genius, and he comes off almost, I hate to say the word arrogant because he's not, but it comes off that way because he's so self-assured and he's so smart. So people don't know what to do with, but when they give him the space and the chance to just be himself, he is the most servant-driven, just biggest heart man, and I'm so grateful and just privileged to have access to him and have him in my life. It's unbelievable. And so that's not uncommon, but he says the same thing as you because we're so integrous driven. Kevin and Alan for their company have had $1 million offers. Like, and they've had to turn it away because they don't want anyone else's hand in the cookie jar, you know? They don't want anyone
Mhm.
coming in and dictating how they do things, but they also understand that selling personal development, especially through the lens of success, is like it's like selling kale outside of a candy store. No one's excited about it. It's not sexy, it's not fun, but is it fundamental and necessary? And is it actually going to be the thing that gets you to your goals? Absolutely. It absolutely is.
That's
And so
100%,
so
without a
we're not
question.
we don't get the flashy success, but behind the scenes we are unbelievably gratefully overwhelmed with the demand that we have, and to the point where we get to be discerning with the clients we take. We have a live event coming up. So the one that I started with NLU with, where I got to MC. Now I'm a speaker. The three of us share the speaking for that. I open up with the first hour, Kevin, and it's amazing. And we aren't just we I think we've posted about it once because it's important to show people what you're doing. This is a business, this is what we do, right? That's important, but we're hand inviting people because we're only taking 30,
Mm,
because it's important to us that we are pouring into heart-driven leaders who are doing good things in the world that we want to see win. And so it's a full day dedicated to success for people that we want to see win, and it's only $47 for the day, and we do that on purpose. And so again, it's not sexy, it's not this thing, but you can win in integrous ways, and you can absolutely win if you embrace the unsexy fundamentals of the compound effect over time. And that's what I have seen in my own life. That is what I have seen and been just brought up into through NLU, and the success I have had personally, mentally, physically in my physical fitness. That's been a journey for me as well. You're talking about that yourself, not a health wise, but like a fitness wise in the last few years
yeah.
has been all because of the fundamentals that we have learned here and what we teach everybody. So it's like selling kale outside of a candy store, but it's worthy work for sure.
Well, it's interesting too because I completely agree with everything you're saying. It's one of those things that one of my best friends had said last year, late last year, that I'm proud of you for still doing it, and they, like, what keeps you going? And for me, it's this.
Yeah.
It's not flashy, but it's great conversations. The internet is evergreen. It's going to be there for, well, for our lives anyway. So if one person watches and takes away from this conversation something that impacts their lives, then it's worth it. It's not flashy. I'm not swimming in millions. Like, I haven't land yet, but what, like, in line with you, in the last 10 years, so like I measure my life pre 35, post 35. In the last 10 years, when I sort of started to get right up here and figure out things and do the work, and like you said, it's very messy, not linear, it's very messy. It is compounding
Yes.
because, like, it's been almost a decade and I'm like looking around, and while the fact that the show even exists is a compound result of the work that I did, because I was terrified to be on the internet. Are you serious? People could hear my gay voice whenever they want to. Like, I'm not joking. Like, this is like, I have a podcast where literally talk about how gay I sound when I talk, and how much of a problem that was for me when I started editing my first podcast. And then how healing it was over the each episode, realizing that, you know what, I love how I am. Like, this is a part of this is who I am. This is how I show up authentically. But yeah, so it's one of those things. But yes, so being mindful of time, and we are going to book a show. I think we've decided. Are we committed to
Oh,
that?
I would love to. I don't give that offer to everybody, but I'm giving it to you. I would
All
love
right.
to
So we're
come
going
back.
to have a part two, everybody. So I'm excited about this on self-worth. That'll be coming up in the next little while. We'll get that scheduled. And it has been an absolute treat today to connect with you, to listen to you talk, to learn about how you talk about the seasons with the cycles. Like, it sounds so poetic and beautiful, but it's also so, like, just feels like empowering, right? Like, I just feel like at some point in my life, I'm going to meet someone and I'm going to use that exact sort of situation, how you explained it, to be like, listen, do you know about the seasons? And I'm like, you need to go check out Amy Lenius. It's Lenius, right? Yep. To get like the full sort of thing. But here's me paraphrasing exactly what she said to me in a podcast, and it's so beautiful and it makes so much sense. And you need to give yourself grace and kindness and like learn to work with your cycles,
Yes.
not against. This has been honestly really wonderful. I wish you the very best, but I don't have to do that yet because I'm going to get to talk to you again really soon. So I will send you well, actually, we'll connect afterwards and figure this out. So we'll see you again soon.
I can't
I'm
wait.
like, no, like normally I'm always like, okay, well, what's next for you? But like, we can figure that out next episode. So, yeah, so we'll see you again soon. And thank you so much for being a guest on this podcast. We will see you again soon. And for everybody at home, until next time, get out there and live your wildest dreams.